Jax's revenge domain. I was flying to Munich to close a $2.2 billion merger when my phone buzzed. Access denied. The board had voted to fire me mid-air, assuming I'd be helpless until I landed. They were wrong. I bought the in-flight Wi-Fi, called their biggest rival, and turned their celebration into a funeral. My name is Timothy Brennan. I'm 54 years old, and I just learned that experience beats arrogance every damn time. The flight attendant placed a glass of sparkling water on my tray table, her smile practiced and polite. "We'll be pushing back in 5 minutes, Mr. Brennan. Can I get you anything else before takeoff?" "No, thank you," I said, adjusting my tie. It was a conservative navy blue, the kind you wear when you're about to sign the most important contract of your life. "Just the Wi-Fi code, please. I have some last-minute documents to review." She handed me a small card and I unlocked my phone, tapping the email icon. I expected to see the final draft of the Yamamoto Agreement, a $2.2 billion acquisition I had spent 18 months cultivating. It was the deal that would secure my kids' college funds and keep my ex-wife from dragging me back to court over that alimony modification she'd been threatening. Sarah had already texted me twice this week about our daughter Emma's SAT prep costs and our son Jake's summer engineering camp fees. The divorce settlement was bleeding me dry, but this deal would change everything. One signature and I'd have enough commission to breathe easy for the first time in 2 years. Instead, my screen blinked. A gray box appeared in the center of the display. Exchange password required. That was odd. I typed in my password, a complex string I changed every 90 days per protocol. Incorrect password. My stomach dropped. I tried again, slower this time, making sure every character was precise. Account suspended. Please contact IT administrator. A cold sweat broke out on my forehead. I wasn't just any employee. I was the senior VP of strategic partnerships, the guy who brought in 40% of the company's revenue. My account didn't get suspended for glitches. I switched to our internal messaging system. "You have been removed from this workspace." The plane lurched as we pushed back from the gate. The familiar anxiety I'd been fighting since the divorce started clawing at my chest. I opened my personal email, hands trembling slightly, and found what I was looking for. Time-stamped 4 minutes ago. Subject: Notice of termination of employment. Timothy Brennan. The sender wasn't HR. It was from the office of CEO Oliver Kane. Oliver had taken over 8 months ago, a 32-year-old visionary brought in by the board to modernize our operations. In Oliver's world, modernization meant replacing experienced negotiators with AI chatbots and firing anyone over 45 who made more than 6 figures. We'd clashed in every board meeting since his arrival. He called me legacy overhead. I called him a liability. I tapped the email open with a shaking finger. It was brief and cold as a scalpel. "Dear Timothy, effective immediately, your services are no longer required. The board has voted to terminate your contract for cause, citing philosophical misalignment with the company's future direction. A severance package is contingent upon your signing of the attached NDA. Do not contact any clients. Your company devices will be remotely wiped within 1 hour." The plane's engines roared to life, a deep, vibrating thrum that shook the floor beneath my feet. We were taxiing toward takeoff, and I was trapped in a metal tube at 30,000 feet, completely cut off from my servers, my files, and my contact list. Heading toward a meeting I was no longer authorized to attend. Oliver had timed this perfectly. He knew I was on Flight 442 to Munich. He waited until the doors closed, until I was trapped in the sky for the next 9 hours, where I couldn't fight back, couldn't call a lawyer, and couldn't warn the client. The son of a bitch thought he had checkmated me. I looked out the window as the runway blurred into streaks of gray concrete. The wheels left the ground, and New York fell away below us. I reached into my briefcase and pulled out my personal laptop. It was an older Dell, heavy and scratched from years of travel, but it had one feature Oliver had forgotten about: a local hard drive with my entire professional life backed up. "You think you can silence me with a push notification, Oliver?" I muttered under my breath, flipping the screen open. "You just made the biggest mistake of your short career." The seatbelt sign chimed off at 10,000 feet. Around me, other first-class passengers were settling in for the long flight to Europe. Business travelers pulling out tablets, a couple sharing champagne, an elderly man already asleep behind his eye mask. To them, this was just another Tuesday. To me, it was war. I connected to the in-flight Wi-Fi immediately. The connection was slow and expensive, $40 for the full flight, but it was my only lifeline to the outside world. First thing I did was check other flights to Munich. If Oliver fired me, he didn't just want me gone from the company. He wanted the credit for the Yamamoto deal. The signing ceremony was scheduled for tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. at the Bayerischer Hof Hotel. I was supposed to be the one sitting across from Mr. Yamamoto, sharing tea and handing him that gold-plated pen for the photo op. If I wasn't there, someone else had to be. I pulled up flight departures from JFK. There was a Lufthansa flight that had left 2 hours before mine. Another was scheduled to depart 3 hours after takeoff. Oliver wouldn't risk the later flight. They'd be cutting it too close for the prep dinner tonight. It had to be the earlier flight. I logged into the airline's frequent flyer database using skills I'd picked up in my early days working logistics before I climbed the corporate ladder. It was a gray area move, something most people didn't know how to do, but I could access passenger manifests if I knew where to look in the system. There it was, Flight LH441, Seat 3A, W. Fletcher. Wesley Fletcher. I let out a short, bitter laugh that made the woman in 2C glance over at me with concern. Wesley, of course. Wesley was Oliver's 28-year-old golden boy, head of client success, a made-up title that basically meant he sent automated birthday emails and called it relationship management. He was the kind of guy who thought you could close a billion-dollar deal with a PowerPoint presentation and a firm handshake. You sent the intern, I whispered to myself, shaking my head in disbelief. You fired the architect and sent the intern to build the foundation. This was either the boldest move Oliver had ever made or the stupidest, probably both. I opened a folder on my desktop labeled Emergency Archive. Most people in corporate America live and die by the cloud these days. They trust that their Google Drive or SharePoint will always be there when they need it. But I learned the hard way back in the 90s that digital access is a privilege that can be revoked with a mouse click. Every Friday for the past 5 years, I had manually backed up my entire contact database, every contract draft, every personal note about clients, and every relationship detail to this encrypted local drive. It was old-school paranoia that had just become my salvation. I entered my decryption key, and the folder unlocked like a digital treasure chest. There it was, the Yamamoto Industries profile. 47 pages of everything you could ever want to know about our potential acquisition target. I didn't just know Mr. Yamamoto's business financials and market position. I knew his personal story. I knew his grandson was studying engineering at MIT. I knew he preferred green tea over coffee and took exactly 2 sugar cubes. I knew he was hesitant about this merger because he feared our company was losing its soul, a fear that Oliver had just confirmed in spectacular fashion by firing me mid-flight. I knew that Mr. Yamamoto's father had started the company in 1952 with a handshake deal and a promise to never abandon his workers. I knew that every major decision in the company's 70-year history had been made with employee welfare as the top priority. And I knew that if Wesley Fletcher walked into that meeting tomorrow morning with his generic smile and cookie-cutter presentation, Mr. Yamamoto would see right through him in about 30 seconds. It was 3:15 p.m. in New York, which made it 9:15 p.m. in Munich. Mr. Yamamoto would be finishing his evening tea in his suite at the Bayerischer Hof, probably reviewing documents one final time before tomorrow's signing. He was methodical like that, never rushed, never careless. If I called him now, I would be violating the termination agreement I hadn't even signed yet. I could lose my severance package, assuming there was one. I could face lawsuits for breach of contract and corporate espionage. Oliver would probably try to have me arrested the moment I landed in Germany. But if I didn't call him, Wesley would walk into that conference room tomorrow morning, present whatever watered-down version of our agreement Oliver had cobbled together, and Mr. Yamamoto might actually sign it. Not because it was a good deal, but because he trusted the relationship we had built over 18 months of careful negotiation. That trust would be broken the moment the ink dried and Oliver started implementing his efficiency improvements. I stared at the flight map on the screen in front of me. We were a tiny white airplane icon floating over the dark Atlantic, somewhere between hope and desperation. The estimated time to destination showed 6 hours and 23 minutes remaining. I wasn't going to just kill this deal. That wouldn't be enough. Oliver wanted to play games with my livelihood. He wanted to strand me at 35,000 feet and steal 18 months of my work. I was going to do more than crash his celebration. I was going to hijack the entire operation. I opened a new browser tab and searched for Apex Industries. Their CEO, Jonathan Pierce, had been trying to poach me for the better part of a decade. We'd competed against each other on dozens of deals over the years. Sometimes he won, sometimes I did, but we'd always maintained a professional respect that bordered on friendship. Jonathan understood the old rules of business. Relationships mattered. Your word meant something. A handshake still counted for more than a contract signature in certain circles. More importantly, Jonathan had the resources to move fast when he smelled blood in the water. I found his direct office line in my contacts and cross-checked it against the company directory online. Still current. I slipped on my noise-canceling headphones and adjusted the microphone. The cabin noise faded to a dull hum. This was the point of no return. Once I made this call, I wasn't just a terminated employee looking for sympathy. I was declaring war on my former company. I was about to become a corporate saboteur with nothing left to lose except my kids' college funds and whatever remained of my professional reputation. But then I thought about that last board meeting. I remembered Oliver tapping his Mont Blanc pen on the conference table while reviewing our quarterly numbers, looking at me like I was some relic from the Stone Age. "We're spending too much on relationship management," he had said, not even bothering to look up from his tablet. "Clients don't care about your golf games and dinner parties, Timothy. They care about efficiency and cost reduction. This whole personal touch approach is obsolete." Obsolete. I pulled up Wesley Fletcher's LinkedIn profile on my laptop. I had done my research on all of Oliver's key people months ago just to know what I was dealing with. Wesley had an MBA from a decent school, but his work experience was thin as paper. 2 years at a consulting firm that specialized in digital transformation. 1 year at a fintech startup that had imploded spectacularly due to regulatory issues. Then Oliver had hired him as head of client success based on what appeared to be a 30-minute interview and a slick presentation about leveraging synergistic customer journey optimization. In other words, Wesley was exactly the kind of empty suit that looked great in a boardroom, but had never actually closed a real deal with real consequences. The irony was perfect. Oliver had fired me for being old-fashioned, then sent the most inexperienced person on his team to handle the most important deal in the company's recent history. I looked at my reflection in the laptop screen for a moment. Gray hair at the temples, lines around the eyes from too many years of late-night contract negotiations and early-morning client calls. 54 years old in an industry that worshipped youth and disruption. But I had something Wesley Fletcher would never have. The knowledge of how to read people, how to build trust, and how to know when someone was about to screw you over. I dialed Jonathan's number. The international connection took a few seconds to establish, routing through satellites somewhere over the Atlantic. The line rang twice before a familiar gruff voice answered. "Pierce here." "Jonathan, it's Timothy Brennan." There was a pause, the kind that happens when someone's brain needs a moment to process unexpected information. "Tim? Aren't you supposed to be signing the Yamamoto deal tomorrow? I was just preparing my condolences speech for when you steal another client from under my nose." "I'm on a plane," I said, keeping my voice low so the flight attendants wouldn't overhear, "but I'm not signing anything. Oliver Kane just fired me via email while I was over the Atlantic." A long, low whistle came through the headphones. "That's a bold move. Stupid as hell, but bold." "So you're calling me for a job reference?" "No. I'm calling to sell you the deal of the decade. I have Yamamoto Industries in my pocket, and if you move fast, I can deliver them to you with a better contract than Oliver ever dreamed of." I could practically hear Jonathan sitting up straighter in his chair. When you've been in this business as long as we have, you develop an instinct for opportunity. You realize Oliver will sue you into the Stone Age for industrial espionage if you try something like that. He can try. But first, I need you to hire Charles Hoffman as outside counsel. Charlie's got a personal vendetta against Oliver. Got fired last year via a 30-second Zoom call on his birthday. The securities lawyer? He charges $800 an hour. Find him. Tell him Timothy Brennan is calling in a favor. I've got 6 hours before I land in Munich. Do you want this deal, or do you want to read about how Oliver Kane beat you again in tomorrow's financial press? There was silence on the line for about 10 seconds. Then Jonathan's voice came back, sharp and focused. "I'm listening. Talk to me." Time remaining to destination, 5 hours, 47 minutes. While Jonathan put together his legal team, I accessed something Oliver had forgotten about in his rush to destroy my digital life, the virtual data room for the Yamamoto merger. When you're working on an acquisition of this magnitude, you don't just email documents back and forth. Everything goes through a secure third-party server hosted by a neutral law firm. Oliver had shut down my corporate email, my internal messaging, and my VPN access. But in his arrogance, or maybe just his inexperience with deals this complex, he had forgotten that VDR access credentials were managed by the external auditors, not our internal IT department. My login was still active. The connection was frustratingly slow, probably because I was bouncing signals off satellites while flying at 40,000 feet. But eventually, the system let me in. I navigated straight to the final agreements folder. There it was, uploaded just 2 hours ago. Yamamoto, Merger Final, Execution, V16. PDF with Wesley Fletcher's user ID attached to the upload timestamp. I downloaded the file, which took nearly 4 minutes of watching a progress bar crawl across my screen. While I waited, I opened my local copy of version 15, the last draft I had personally reviewed with Mr. Yamamoto during our meeting in his Tokyo office 3 weeks ago. When Wesley's version finally finished downloading, I ran a document comparison program. It's a simple tool that highlights differences between two files in red text, usually used by lawyers to track contract changes. My laptop screen lit up like a crime scene. Section 8.2, deleted entirely. That was the clause guaranteeing retention of all manufacturing staff at the Osaka and Kyoto plants for a minimum of 24 months post-acquisition. Section 12.4, completely rewritten. Pension obligations shall be assumed by the acquiring entity and maintained according to existing terms. Had been changed to pension obligations shall be subject to a comprehensive 90-day solvency review and potential restructuring. Section 15.7. New language added. Something about operational efficiency improvements and redundancy elimination protocols. You absolute snake, I hissed under my breath. Oliver wasn't just buying Yamamoto Industries. He was planning to gut it. Strip out the pension obligations, fire half the workforce within 6 months, and liquidate whatever assets he could to pay down the acquisition debt. It was exactly the kind of predatory capitalism that Oliver loved to present to the board as unlocking shareholder value through strategic right-sizing. The worst part was that Mr. Yamamoto would never see it coming. He trusted me. He believed that our handshake agreement from 3 weeks ago meant something. He would walk into that conference room tomorrow morning, see Wesley's earnest young face, and assume that everything was exactly as we had discussed. By the time he realized what had actually been signed, it would be too late. 3 generations of Yamamoto family employees would be out on the street, and their pension fund would be nothing but an accounting footnote in Oliver's quarterly earnings report. My phone buzzed with an encrypted message from Jonathan. Hoffman is in, sending you his secure contact info. Move fast, he's got a dinner meeting at 8. A contact card appeared on my screen. Charles Hoffman, with a direct line that bypassed his usual assistant screening process. I dialed immediately, not giving myself time to second-guess what I was about to do. Hoffman. The voice was raspy from too many years of courtroom arguments and late-night depositions. Charlie, it's Timothy Brennan. I'm currently at 37,000 feet over the Atlantic with a smoking gun that proves Oliver Kane is about to commit securities fraud against a foreign entity. There was the sound of a lighter clicking, followed by the distinctive inhale of someone taking their first drag of the evening. Oliver Kane, the boy wonder. I heard he clipped your wings today. Rough way to go out after 30 years, Tim. I'm not going out, I said, staring at the damning document comparison on my screen. I'm taking him down. But I need to know, do I have legal standing to disclose VDR documents after receiving termination notice but before signing a separation agreement? Charlie's laugh sounded like gravel in a cement mixer. Technically, no. You'd be violating confidentiality clauses that are still in effect. Oliver would sue you for every penny you have, then go after your pension for good measure. My heart sank. So I'm dead in the water. I didn't say that, Charlie countered quickly. I said you can't leak the documents directly, but you can consult on them. Listen carefully, Tim. Did you actually sign that termination acknowledgement yet? No, I'm on a plane. Haven't even read the full agreement. Good. Then technically, under New York employment law, you haven't been properly notified of termination. Email notification isn't sufficient for executive-level dismissal without either certified mail delivery or digital signature confirmation. You're in what we call a quantum state of employment, both terminated and not terminated until the paperwork is complete. So what's my play here? You don't send anything directly to the client, Charlie said, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. You send it all to me. I'm an officer of the court with a prior professional relationship with Yamamoto's legal team from the due diligence work we did on their German subsidiary 3 years ago. If I receive a whistleblower tip concerning potential securities fraud in an international transaction, I'm legally obligated to investigate and report my findings. You're going to launder the intelligence, I realized. I'm going to perform my civic duty as an officer of the court, Charlie corrected. Send me everything you've got, then get Jonathan to draft a counteroffer letter. Not for you, for Yamamoto directly. If Oliver's buying at $2.2 billion with poison pills hidden in the contract, Apex needs to offer $2.4 billion with ironclad employment guarantees. Jonathan won't go that high. He's cheap. He will if you promise him your entire client portfolio. You've got leverage here, Tim. Use it. There was a pause, and when Charlie spoke again, his voice had a cold edge to it. Tim, why am I helping you with this? You want the honest answer? Yeah. Because Oliver Kane fired me on my 58th birthday via a Zoom call that lasted exactly 37 seconds. He never even turned his camera on. I've been waiting 2 years for the right opportunity to watch that arrogant little prick burn. Time remaining to destination, 3 hours, 12 minutes. The next 2 hours were a blur of encrypted emails, secure file transfers, and hushed phone conversations. I sent Charlie everything: the original contract, Wesley's fraudulent version, the document comparison analysis, and my entire file on Mr. Yamamoto's family values and company philosophy. Jonathan came through with a formal letter of intent from Apex Industries, $2.4 billion cash, with binding guarantees for employee retention, pension fund protection, and a commitment to maintain Yamamoto's current management structure for at least 3 years. Charlie worked his magic on the legal side, reaching out to Ms. Nakamura, Yamamoto's general counsel, through official channels as a concerned officer of the court who had received an anonymous tip about potential securities fraud in an international transaction. By the time we started our descent into Munich, the trap was set. My phone buzzed with a final message from Charlie. Package delivered. Yamamoto's legal team has everything. They are not pleased with what they're seeing. Wesley Fletcher's flight landed an hour ago. He's currently in a taxi stuck in morning rush hour traffic. You've got maybe a 20-minute window when you land. The wheels hit the tarmac at Munich International with a jarring thud that rattled my teeth. I was out of my seat before the plane came to a complete stop, grabbing my briefcase and pushing past other passengers who were still fumbling with their overhead bags. Sir, please remain seated until we reach the gate, a flight attendant called after me. Emergency connection, I called back, not bothering to turn around. I bypassed baggage claim entirely. I travel light for exactly these kinds of situations, and sprinted through customs. My global entry status got me through in under 3 minutes. The arrivals hall was a sea of travelers and taxi drivers holding signs. I scanned the crowd until I spotted what I was looking for: a motorcycle courier in full leathers holding a helmet with Brennan written on a piece of tape. "You're my ride to the Bayerischer Hof?" I asked, slightly out of breath. He grinned and handed me the spare helmet. "Rush hour in Munich is murder if you're in a car. 2 wheels are the only way you're getting across town in under 30 minutes. I strapped on the helmet, climbed onto the back of the BMW, and held on tight as we roared away from the curb. We lane split through traffic, weaving between stagnant Mercedes and delivery trucks. Rain was starting to fall, making the streets slick and the visibility poor, but my driver handled the bike like he'd been born on it. I checked my watch, 8:47 a.m. The meeting was scheduled for 9 a.m. sharp. We pulled up in front of the Bayerischer Hof at 8:52. I was soaking wet. My expensive suit looked like I'd slept in it, and my hair was plastered to my head, but I'd made it. I burst through the hotel's ornate revolving doors and strode across the marble lobby, leaving wet footprints behind me. The concierge started to approach, probably to ask if I needed assistance or possibly to escort me out, but I flashed my company ID badge and headed straight for the elevator. The conference room was on the 3rd floor. I could hear voices through the heavy wooden doors as I approached. I paused for just a moment to catch my breath, wiped the rain from my face with my sleeve, and pushed the doors open. The room fell silent. At the head of the long mahogany table sat Mr. Yamamoto, impeccably dressed in a dark gray suit. Flanking him were his son Kenji and Ms. Nakamura, his general counsel. On the opposite side of the table sat Wesley Fletcher, looking every inch the polished young executive in his crisp navy suit and perfectly knotted tie. He was holding a gold-plated pen poised over a thick document. "Ah," Mr. Yamamoto said, looking up with an expression I couldn't quite read. "Mr. Brennan, we were told you were indisposed." Wesley spun around in his chair, his face going pale when he saw me. "Timothy, what are you doing here? You don't have authority to—" "I'm here to save you from a federal investigation, Wesley," I said, walking calmly to the table and setting down my briefcase with a solid thud. "Mr. Yamamoto, I apologize for my appearance. The weather in Munich is as unpredictable as corporate leadership in New York." "Security!" Wesley squeaked, half rising from his chair. "He's been terminated. He has no right to be here." "Sit down, young man," Ms. Nakamura said quietly. Her voice was soft, but it cut through the room like a blade. Wesley froze mid-motion, then slowly sank back into his chair. I looked directly at Mr. Yamamoto. "Sir, the document in front of you is not the agreement we negotiated. Section 8 has been deleted. The employment guarantees are gone. The pension protections have been replaced with solvency review language that essentially gives them permission to steal your employees' retirement funds." Wesley's face went from pale to bright red. "That's a complete lie. These are just standard legal updates, boilerplate language improvements." Ms. Nakamura slid a document across the table toward Wesley. It was the side-by-side comparison Charlie had prepared, showing every deletion and modification in stark detail. "We received this analysis from a concerned party early this morning, Mr. Fletcher. Would you care to explain these discrepancies?" Wesley stared at the document like it was written in a foreign language. His mouth opened and closed several times before any words came out. I didn't personally review every clause. The legal department assured me these were minor formatting changes." "You are the representative of your company," Mr. Yamamoto said softly. "You carry their honor in your hands." He closed the folder in front of him with finality. "And it appears that honor has been compromised." Mr. Yamamoto stood up. "The agreement is terminated." "Wait," I said, and the entire room seemed to hold its breath. I reached into my briefcase and pulled out Jonathan's letter of intent. "Mr. Yamamoto, I can no longer speak for my former employer. They have clearly lost their way. But I can offer you an alternative that honors both your company's values and your employees' futures." I placed the Apex Industries proposal on the table. This offer is for $2.4 billion. It includes binding employment guarantees for all current staff, verified by independent audit. It fully funds and protects all existing pension obligations. And most importantly, it commits to maintaining your current management team and operational philosophy. Mr. Yamamoto picked up the document and read the first page carefully, then flipped to the signature page. A slow smile spread across his weathered face. "And your role in this new arrangement, Mr. Brennan?" "I'm simply a consultant facilitating the introduction," I said. "My only condition was ensuring your people are protected." Mr. Yamamoto pulled his fountain pen from his jacket pocket. "Oliver Kane. He is the one who sent the termination email, yes?" "Yes, sir." "Then I believe," Mr. Yamamoto said, signing his name with a flourish, "I would very much enjoy doing business with his competitor instead." The next few weeks were a whirlwind I'll never forget. Oliver's company stock plummeted 28% when news of the failed merger hit the financial press. The SEC investigation that Charlie had triggered led to Oliver facing criminal charges for securities fraud. Wesley Fletcher was fired within 48 hours and became a cautionary tale about sending boys to do men's work. Jonathan Pierce made good on his promises. I came on board as Senior Vice President of Strategic Partnerships at Apex Industries with a compensation package that finally gave me breathing room with Sarah's alimony demands and put both kids' college educations on solid financial ground. But the real satisfaction came 6 months later, when the board of my old company, facing bankruptcy and regulatory scrutiny, approached Apex about a rescue acquisition. Jonathan asked me to lead the negotiations. I walked back into that familiar boardroom, this time representing the buyer instead of being the one getting bought out. Oliver was long gone by then, but I made sure the employment contracts for all the good people who'd been caught in his wake included strong protections and fair severance packages. As I sit here now, looking out at the lake from my deck on a Saturday evening, I realize something important. Getting fired at 35,000 feet was the best thing that ever happened to me. Sometimes you need to lose everything to remember what really matters. Not just the money or the title, but the relationships you build and the integrity you maintain along the way. My phone is inside on the kitchen counter and it's going to stay there. The kids are coming for dinner tomorrow, my mortgage is paid down, and I've got a bottle of wine that's been waiting for exactly this kind of peaceful evening. Sometimes the old ways still work best. Sometimes experience beats innovation. And sometimes when they try to ground you at 35,000 feet, you just need to remember that you've always known how to fly. In the end, they didn't fire me at 35,000 feet. They just gave me the altitude I needed to see the bigger picture and plot a better course. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. It's getting ahead and taking everyone who matters with you.